being with us here today. I hate how these Zoom screens move on me. My name is Dave Charest, as mentioned. I'm Director of Small Business Success and host of the Be a Marketer podcast at Constant Contact. If you're on LinkedIn, please do reach out. I'd love to connect with you there. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today. And for those of you who may not be familiar with Constant Contact, we've been helping small businesses and not-for-profits reach their marketing goals for coming up on 30 years now with our easy-to-use digital marketing platform. You can, of course, find out more about our tools by scanning that QR code on your screen. I've been with Constant Contact for over 13 years now, and people often ask, what keeps you at the company for so long? And for me, it really boils down to three things. One, I'm passionate about helping small businesses and not-for-profits succeed. Two, the people that I work with on a day-to-day share that same passion, and we're all focused on delivering insights and tools to help you make progress from wherever you are in your marketing journey. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today. Thank you for choosing to spend some time with us. We're here, of course, to discuss why your database is your biggest asset. You've likely heard the phrase, the money is in the list. Well, it's true. I mean, if you think about it, having customers and prospects raise their hands to say, yes, I want you to contact me about your business is really valuable. These are people that you can reach directly. You can keep your business top of mind and influence whether or not they buy from you today or in the future. And over time, you can use the data that you have to make smarter decisions about what and when to send communications and get better results, really. And so today, it's really my pleasure to hand it over to Minal Patel, not only the founder of Marketing by Minal, but as we were just catching up, former Constant Contact colleague, and today a Constant Contact partner to share her expertise and insights in building and nurturing your marketing database. With that, Minal, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks so much, Dave. I'm going to just share my screen. There we go. Thank you, Small Business Britain and Constant Contact, for inviting me to speak today. If you already know me, you know that I love email marketing. It's a crucial tool for any small business, and it's helped me to do all sorts of brilliant things, including working with some absolutely wonderful clients. And there's a reason why I spend a lot of my time building my own database, my own contacts. And it's this reason. If you've already checked your inbox at least once today, can you type me in the chat box? I just want to see who's checked their inboxes today. I'm going to open up the chat. Yep, me's are coming in thick and fast. So I believe that one of the things about email marketing is that we go to our inboxes with intention. We want to know what's in our inboxes, and we want to know if there's anything that we need to action. Now, I don't know about you, but my habits with social media are very different now to what they were even 5 years ago. I will scroll on social media, probably if I'm waiting for somebody, I've got a little bit of time to spare, I want to fill some time, but it's not because I feel like I've got anything to do. And in fact, I'm spending less and less time on social media because I don't get to see updates from the people and pages that I follow. And this is especially true on Facebook. I want to see my friends' updates, but I don't. And I'm finding my friends are posting less frequently too. But I do check my inbox multiple times a day. I'm not always in it. I have set times when I look. I generally don't check my personal inbox during a work day. But during the week, I will check my work emails 3 to 4 times a day. I have set times to do that, and I do it with intention. I do it to see what communications I have and what I need to do next. So I hope you can see that you should be cultivating your own database or email list. And people do want to hear from you. In fact, according to Statista, I can never say that word, Statista, 49% of people, consumers, say they want to receive promotional emails from their favorite brand on a weekly basis. That's right, weekly. I'll let that sink in. So why should you listen to me today? Well, I've been working with email marketing for the last 12 years out of a 22, nearly 23-year career in marketing. And as Dave alluded, 4 years of those were spent with Constant Contact. We're just saying before we came on that this is the first time Dave and I have ever presented together. So it's a big tick off my bucket list for me because I think he's great. I actually got my grounding in email marketing at Constant Contact. But more than that, I found my love of small businesses. I don't know, I don't really share this very often, but I come from a family of small business owners. But growing up with parents who ran a small business wasn't a huge amount of fun. They worked all the time. There was no time for us. And it wasn't until I started working at Constant Contact and I met absolutely hundreds of small business owners that I realized what my parents had been doing. They'd been working all the hours in the day so that we could have a better life, so that we could have the trips abroad with school, go to university, and not have to work for the house. So when I was made redundant, I knew I wanted to help small businesses, and I knew I didn't really want to work for a big corporate. And that's when Marketing by Minal was born. Today, I work with small businesses and I equip them with everything that they need. They email marketing and marketing work for no. I'm a certified Constant Contact partner. That means I have to take an exam every year, which is always nerve-wracking, to test my product and email marketing knowledge. And I work with organisations like Small Business Britain because I want to make a material difference to my fellow small business owners. Now, this would not be a session on email marketing if I didn't tell you about my email list. I send a weekly email on Tuesdays called the Marketing Morsel. It's more of a bit of a club, really, with perks that don't cost you a thing. And that's because I want to pay it forward. I want to share what I've learned about email marketing in the last 12 years, but especially what I've learned about doing it for myself. That's right, I do it all. So for nearly the last 9 years, every newsletter that's gone out has been written by me. It's been designed by me. The content has been created by me. If you would like to get that, please scan that QR code and I will send you a little present to say thank you. And then you will get little bite-sized tips about how to use email marketing and marketing for your small business. And of course, you can find me on social media. I am there. I don't ignore it altogether. I'm most active on LinkedIn and YouTube. So let's get to why you're here today. So why should you have your own database, your own email list? Well, one of the things is about small businesses that I know, they rely heavily on social media. But social reach is a really difficult thing to do organically, to not pay any money and get good social reach. Only 2% of your Facebook posts are seen by your followers. And algorithms change all the time. Networks are updating those algorithms, and you have to adapt to those changes. And it's a lot. It's a lot for you to take care of. It's a lot when all you want to do is do the thing that you started your business for. Having your own database means that you're not so reliant on beating those algorithms. You don't have to, as I like to always say, feed the beast. And do you know who owns all the email addresses of your followers on social media? It's the social networks. So that means that if you're thrown into LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram jail, you've got no way of communicating with your audience. What if your page gets hacked and you're held to ransom by some unscrupulous person who doesn't want to let that page go? That's your way to reach your target audience blocked. I have seen instances of businesses that have grown social followings in the tens of thousands that have had their pages locked. And getting through to anyone, any of those social networks to help you is nigh on impossible. So putting all your eggs in this basket is dangerous. Social media absolutely needs to be part of your overall marketing strategy, but you shouldn't rely on just that. The other thing that you have to think about is email deliverability. It's high compared to social reach. In fact, it's in the high 90s. And earlier this year, I was at an event where Constant Contact CEO was talking, and he talked about Constant Contact deliverability, and it's in the high 90s. And that's because email service providers like Constant Contact work hard to make sure that their senders are sending good quality emails, that the email recipients want to receive those emails, and providers like Google and Yahoo don't block them. And the last thing that you really want to think about is control. Owning your own database, and Dave alluded to it in his introduction, it puts you in control of your message and your business. You decide when you want to communicate with your target audience and how. You decide. Your email service provider, the tool that you use to create your emails, helps you. But all those email addresses that are stored in it are yours. And that means that you absolutely have the means to communicate with your target audience on your terms. So you're in control of your data, but you're also responsible for it. And that means knowing what you can and can't do. Do you remember GDPR? Do you remember 2018 when we were all scrabbling around trying to figure out what we had to do? I mean, we've had, well, every Brit knows our history. We've left the EU, but do you know what we still have? We still have GDPR. It's still our data protection legislation. And there are penalties for ignoring it. There are penalties for not doing the things that you're supposed to do. And those penalties are high. And as an aside, GDPR is not just about marketing permissions. It's about every piece of data that you own. So that means your customer data, your staff data, if you have any members on your team, your supplier data, everything. So it's wider than marketing permissions, but obviously as you want to market to your target audience, you have to be aware of the legislation that covers those permissions. And GDPR is all about opt-in, not opt-out. People have to opt in to hear from you. So if you have if you're an e-commerce business and you have a tick box at your checkout for people to join your email list, that box cannot be ticked. The person who is paying for their product needs to put a tick in that box for you to say that they've given you permission to email them. So the number one thing that you need on your website is a privacy policy. So you need to tell people how you're using their data. GDPR mandates. You can get privacy policies, template privacy policies from organizations like the FSB. So if you're an FSB member, they have things like that in their legal repository on their website that you can use. If you know a GDPR expert, they will help you to write your privacy policy, but it has to be on your website. The next thing you need to do is register with the ICO, Information Commissioner's Office. I do that. It's a thing that you have to do every year. You have to renew every year. It costs me £40 a year. The website has a short quiz to help you figure out what you should pay. But if you are collecting data, whether it's like me, I'm collecting data to market to people, or you might be a social enterprise and you're collecting data for volunteers or for donors. Whatever data you're collecting, you need to go to the ICO website and figure out the payment that you have to make to register. So do that today if you can. You also need a data controller. So if you run your business on your own, that's you. You are the person who is responsible. And your privacy policy needs to state how people can access their data, who the data controller is, how they can get hold of you, how they can get their information from you if they need it. That all needs to be put in your privacy policy. The data controller is you. If you have a team, then you might want to pick someone to be that person. Your email marketing software is your data processor. So they're the people that are processing that data for you for marketing purposes. So they need to be GDPR compliant, and Constant Contact is. It absolutely is. Other things that you'll want to do is to activate two-factor authentication, 2FA, on your account. If there is a breach, you want to make sure that you're doing everything that you can to protect that data in your account. And for me, it doesn't matter. GDPR generally covers personal data. So there are some schools of thought that say, well, if somebody has their email address is a company email address, so it has a domain name, an actual domain name, that's not personal. But I feel it is. I feel you should treat every email address the same. Sorry, I'm going to cough. You should treat every email address the same as a piece of personal data. So make sure that you have 2FA activated on your account. This next one is really important because I know a lot of people do it because it's easy. Do not share login details. Don't share them with anyone. Don't share them with the person that's doing your marketing. Don't share them with anyone that's on your team. If you have a team, they need to have their own logins and they need to use two-factor authentication. So whichever email marketing tool you use, with Constant Contact, depending on the plan that you have, you get a set number of users and you can create user accounts for those people. So make sure that you are not sharing your login details. If you do experience a breach, you're going to want to know what you have to do if that happens. The ICO has all of that information on their website. And one of the first things you need to do is tell them that there's been a breach, and then go through the process that they've set out. And you will need to tell your subscribers that there has been a breach. We've all had those emails. Big companies experience more breaches, I feel, than smaller companies. But we've all had that email where we've been told that their data has been breached, what has been accessed. So make sure you know what to do. Don't wait until it happens and then be in a complete panic about what you need to do. And remember that the buck stops with you. You are responsible for protecting that data. It doesn't matter if you have someone else in your team that is the data controller. It's your business. You are responsible for it. So know how to protect the data and what you have to do if there is a breach. I can't stress this enough. You should have a process. You should review it. And one of the things that GDPR mandates is that you should give people an easy way to unsubscribe. Constant Contact does that very simply for you. There is an unsubscribe link at the bottom of every email. You must give people a way to unsubscribe. So I know I've spent quite a lot of time on protecting your data, but it's really important because you are responsible for this, and it really is your reputation that's at stake. Let's talk about something a bit lighter. Let's talk about growing your email list, because you need an email list to send emails to. Now, for me, a small but engaged list is much better than a huge list where nothing happens. But you are going to want to add subscribers to your list. So let's talk about how. For me, it's all about how and where you ask. Let's cover how. Be transparent. Be transparent about what you will send to people and how often you are going to send them emails. They need to know this. They need to know what's in it for them. I don't know if I don't really go into shops very much anymore, but there's a couple of times where I've been into shops where people ask me, can they send me my receipt by email? And I always say no, because I always feel like they're going to get my email address and then I'm just going to get bombarded by emails that I don't really want. If they turn that around and ask me in a different way, I might actually be more amenable to saying yes. If they turn around and said, you know what, we have a regular newsletter, it goes out every month, and what we do is we will send you deals and offers and news about products, and we can save on paper and send you your receipt by email. I might be more open to joining that email list. So it is really about how you ask. If you think back to how I asked you to join my email list, I was very transparent. It's a weekly email. It comes out on a Tuesday. It has short tips on email marketing and marketing in general. And you get a little present from me if you sign up. I only ever send weekly, and I was actually talking to someone about this yesterday. The only time where I've deviated from that is during COVID, where I had lots of resources and stuff to share with my list. And it went a couple of times. I sent out emails twice a week and I explained to people why I was doing it. Nobody minded. So it is about how you ask. You need to think about how you position it so people understand what's in it for them. And then it's the where. If you know your target audience well, you need to ask in all the places that they hang out. So that means knowing exactly who you're selling to. It means knowing your most ideal customer and where they are likely to be. And I'll just give you a hint, it's not everyone. Work this out, work it out, and it will help you in all of your other marketing activities too. The tactics that you might want to use to grow your email list, well, there are places that you own, like your website. So put a form on there, use buttons. I will just say this, please don't hide your email list join box in the footer of your website. Just think about the last time you scrolled all the way to the bottom of a website. Put it front and center, put it where people can see it. Help them understand why they want to join your email list. Use pop-ups. Yes, they are annoying. They are annoying, but only when they appear within seconds of you landing on that website. Select exit intent on your pop-up, and that means that it will come up on the screen when people are about to leave your website. It's magic. It's absolute magic. So use those pop-ups because they do work. And by the way, Constant Contact provides these, so everything that you need to grow your list is in one place. Offer list exclusives. So you might have exclusive content that people can't see anywhere else. I do this. I do webinars for my list 4 times a year. Only my email list gets invited. That content doesn't go anywhere else. Maybe insider info, maybe early access to sales. I love that. I love it when you're signed up to a product brand and you get to shop the sale before anyone else does. Think about what would excite and entice your audience. The other thing I want to touch on is lead magnets. Things like guides, checklists. The choice really is endless. You can try different ones and see what works for you, but they're a great way to get people onto your email list. They do take a little bit of effort, but once you've figured out what works for you, you'll know exactly how to use them. And you can see this in action in 4 slides time. But I'm just going to tell you this one thing about growing your list. You have to ask. If you don't ask, you don't get. So work out all the things that you can offer and how often you want to send, and then ask in all the places that your target audience hangs out. When people join your list, you need to make some effort. You need to be nice to them, not just when they're new, but always. But remember, they signed up for the stuff that you said you'd send them. And now's the time to make good on that promise. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is set up a welcome sequence. You need to use a welcome sequence. When they've joined your list, that's the best time to make that first great impression. You won't get that chance again. It won't happen again. So if you join my email list at the top of this presentation, your welcome email will be in your inbox right now. Email automation is an absolute godsend for small businesses. It just saves you so much time. I can't tell you. It's something that you should be leveraging for your business to help you to start that relationship with your subscribers off on the right foot. Because email marketing is all about building relationships. It's about you getting to know your subscribers and about them being able to access the stuff that you said that you'd send them, and you building that lovely relationship to the point where they want to buy. You'll want to reinforce why they joined, that they did the right thing. Tell them what to expect and how often. I still get people who sign up to my email list, then unsubscribe, and tell me that I email them too often. And in every step of the way, I always say it's a weekly email. You get an email once a week on a Tuesday, lunchtime mostly. They tell me it's too much. And I don't know what else to say, but we have to tell people these things over and over again because they sometimes do miss them. We have short attention spans. We might not see it the first time. So reinforce the reason that they joined and tell them how often you'll be in touch. And then show your expertise and personality. The next thing you want to do is send regularly. And to help you do that, you need a plan. If you said that you'd send weekly emails, then guess what? You need to send weekly emails. And planning them out really helps you to create those emails more quickly. If you decide to send an email, you sit down at your laptop and then you start thinking about, oh, what am I going to write this time? And then half an hour goes by, an hour goes by, and then something else is more pressing, more urgent that needs to be dealt with. That email doesn't get sent. So when you know exactly what you want to put in each email, it happens and you get to put that email together more quickly. 13 minutes. That's how long it takes me to put my emails together every week. I know because I've screen recorded it for my list. 13 minutes because I know exactly what I want to talk about. So have that plan and then use a mix of content. Spend 80% of the time giving your list the things that they really enjoy, the things that they signed up for, the things that you promised them. Inform them, educate them, entertain them. 20% of the time, that remaining 20% needs to be spent on you because you need to promote your business, and it's okay to sell, just not all the time. And then you need to test things. You need to understand what's working based on your goals for each email. This might be through testing content, maybe the subject lines, maybe the sending days and times. I accidentally discovered, I was on holiday a couple of weeks ago, and the first email that I sent out while I was out there, I thought I had scheduled it for GMT, but actually I hadn't. I'd scheduled it for Sri Lankan time, and it went out 5.5 hours earlier than it normally would. But it got a good response rate, and I did that by accident. It went out on a Tuesday, but it went out like before 8 o'clock in the morning. But it got a good response rate, and I might not have thought of doing that myself because I always get such a good open and click rate sending it at lunch times. But now I've found another time that works for my list. I will just say that when you're testing stuff, test one thing at a time. Otherwise, you won't know what worked. So if you want to decide on the best time to send for your list, test the day first before you test the time of day. And then look at your reports. This is where the magic happens. They will tell you exactly what's happening, what's working and what's not. And you can use that information. It's really valuable. You can use that information to help you with your other marketing activities. I know that a lot of people will send those emails and then they'll think job done. But really look at those reports, because what you're trying to do is figure out how to build that next stepping stone on that relationship with your list. What is the next thing that you need to do, and the next thing? And your subscribers are telling you, they're telling you, and that information is in your reports. So first off, when you're speaking to your audience, just remember that you are you. Use that in your emails. It's the biggest superpower we've got over our competitors, big and small. So here are some of the things that I would say not to do when you write, or do and not to do when you write your emails. So number one, don't use complicated language. I really believe that people go to their inboxes with the intention, I've said that, to check the emails that they need to read in action. But we've all got a lot going on. We all look at emails on our mobiles, and we're doing other things at the same time. We might get distracted. There are lots of things vying for our attention. If your email doesn't grab them straight away, then you've lost them. Overly complicated language is a surefire way for that to happen. So use your space wisely. Design for mobile. You need to really think about what your email is going to look like on a mobile phone, and design for mobile. We use them a lot to check our emails. So that means making sure that your images are optimized, that they appear clearly on your mobile screen, that your text is legible without having to pinch and zoom in. So things like that are really important to make sure that your email displays properly. Every email service provider, Constant Contact included, gives you mobile responsive templates. They do that. Those templates automatically resize for the size of device that it's being viewed on. But even if that is the case, if you send an email with text that's really tiny on screen, you're going to lose people. People need to know what you want them to do, and they need to know really quickly. And on that note, get to the point quickly, and definitely before they have to scroll, particularly if reading on a mobile. I'm actually running a survey at the moment to find out what help people want with their marketing for next year. And people on my list get to tell me what they like about my emails. And practically every single person who has responded to that, I think I checked it last week, practically every single person has told me they like it because it's short and sweet and I get to the point really quickly. And someone actually told me that they've unsubscribed from several emails because they're too long and they don't have time. So get to the point really quickly. If you're sending sales emails, and remember, it's okay to do that. It's okay to ask people to buy something. Don't distract people with other things in your email. It's really tempting to put other stuff in there. But the more stuff you put in your email, the more you're taking attention away from the thing that you want them to do, the thing that you want them to buy. So stick to the thing that you're selling, okay? Make sure that the email is all about that. I actually, one of my clients is my local Chamber of Commerce. And today we are sending out an email. We're not actually selling anything in it, but what we do want to do, I suppose we are selling something indirectly. They've just launched a business magazine for my local borough. And that's what the email is all about. And eventually, in addition to that, people will then want to buy advertising space and advertorial and stuff like that. So that is the sale. But that email that we're sending out today is just about the magazine. We're launching this today. That's all we're talking about. It's got an image of the front cover. It's got reasons why they should click on the link to read the magazine. And we've not distracted with anything else. There's another email going out this week, later this week, that talks about events and stuff that are coming up. But today we are only focusing on that magazine. And the other thing you'll want to do if you're sending a sales email is to repeat your call to action, your CTA, throughout that email. So if you've got an image, that's content too. So link that image to the place where they buy whatever it is that you're focusing on. Maybe add some text links. You can add text links at the top, maybe in the opening paragraph. And use a button. We all know what those buttons mean. We know that they are for clicking on. Use a button, make it a contrasting color. If you get my emails, you'll see I use my lovely lime green color. All of these links need to go directly to your sales landing page. So if you've got a particular, like you've built a particular page for a sale that you're having, it needs to go directly to that page, because people will not spend time searching for the thing that you want them to do. If you want them to buy something, it has to go to that product page. If you want them to register for an event, it has to go to that registration page. They won't spend the time trying to find that. You need to serve it up to them really quickly. Not everyone will want to hear about everything that you've got to say all the time. And that's really important, because that impacts how relevant people think that your emails are to them. And the one way to really send people properly relevant emails is to segment your list based on what they're interested in. Now, this doesn't have to be massively complicated. I sell services. I sell services to other service providers, and maybe some product businesses as well. So that's what I do. I segment my list based on whether they sell products or whether they sell services. And I also segment on whether they sell their product or service to people or to other businesses. That's a really simple way so that I can then send out relevant information based on what they're interested in. And I know that, service-based businesses that don't sell products but are potentially not interested in how to use email marketing for e-commerce, let's say. So I'm going to turn off some of my list if I send them stuff that just doesn't make an impact on their business. So you can do that. You can do that by looking at what people are doing with your emails. You can do it through something like a survey once a year. So people that are respond to my survey, by the way, there's a prize worth £300. If you want the link, let me know. If you're responding to my survey this year, I'm asking you if you're a product business or if you're a service business, so that I can really start to build that out in my email in constant contact. That's what I use. I can start to build that out so that I can really next year start sending more and more relevant emails to people and get better. And sending your list things that they are genuinely interested in is going to help you to get those results, and it's going to help you to get those. Okay, let's recap. So spend time on your database, spend time understanding what they like, what they don't like. Remember, this is a relationship. It's a two-way street. Give them the chance to interact with you. Nothing says I care less about you than a no reply at email address. I hate it. If you email me, I have one email address. If you reply to one of my newsletters, it lands in my inbox. If you send me an email from your Gmail, it lands in my inbox. I have one email address, and that's how you contact me. So I want to cultivate those relationships. I want people to understand how I can help them. And you'll want the same thing for your list. So spend time understanding your subscribers, understanding their likes and dislikes, understanding how to give them the content that really, really works for them. Make sure you protect your data. It is the law. It doesn't matter how big or how small your business is, GDPR covers every aspect of data. So make sure you understand what your obligations are. Head to the Information Commissioner's Office website. That's a mouthful. The ICO's website. Everything that you need is there. They've got a really nice chat function on their website too. So if you've got questions, you can actually chat to somebody, and they're really great at letting you know what your obligations are. The chat function is good. I think you can ring them up as well. But know what you are required to do by law, and remember that this is it's your responsibility, and that the buck stops with you. And then do the right things to grow your list. Grow your list organically. It's taken me 9 years nearly to get the email list that I've got. It's not massive. It's sub 1,000 people, but it's the right people. The right people are on the bus, and we know where we're going. So do the right things to grow your list. Get relevant contacts onto your email list, and that is going to help you to make the sale that you want. Okay, before I hand over for questions, I just thought I'd drop this in here. I have a short ebook with everything that you need to know to grow your email list, and I'll give you a couple of seconds to scan that QR code. It's completely free. I will send it to you using email automation because it is my best friend. One of the things that I talk about in that ebook is why you should not buy an email list, and give you some additional tactics to help you to add subscribers to your list. Okay, I'm going to hand back and see if there are questions. I can see there's lots in the chat. I'll just leave that up there for a second, just for people to scan.
Hello. Oh, thank you so much, Minal and Dave. That was a great presentation. And as you say, lots of questions coming in. Carla has actually asked about ideas for lead magnets. Carla, do you want to let us know which sector your business is in, so we can maybe help with that one in just a moment. First question, is GDPR different for business to business contracts? Could you explain what legitimate interest covers, please?
Oh, I hate the legitimate interest question. Dave!
Oh, great.
I'm kidding. So legitimate interest means that if you think that you've got a real reason to email somebody without their permission, you can do it. It's really open to interpretation as to what legitimate interest is. I know I had to, for a client of mine, I had to talk to the ICO because they're a local osteopath, and they've got client details. So they've got clients that we wanted to start sending a newsletter to, and the ICO was really strict. So what my client had to do in the end was they had to write to everybody, not email them, write to everyone to let them know that this is happening. And if they didn't want their details added to the list, they had to opt out. So I would check with the ICO. I feel like legitimate interest is such a murky area. And I don't do it. I don't rely on legitimate interest. I rely on permission. So I'm sorry I haven't got a straighter answer for you, but every business seems to do it differently. And I know not long after GDPR had been brought in, I was searching for car insurance, and so there's people will know, I won't mention the brand, but there's one or two insurers that don't put themselves on the comparison websites. And I'd done my quote with one of them, and then I started getting loads of emails. I said, I never signed up to your email list. And they said, oh, it's legitimate interest. So I had to unsubscribe. But businesses seem to use it in the way that they feel. They interpret it the way they want to interpret it. So if you're unsure, check with the ICO.
Fab. Dave, anything to add to that?
No, I'm with Minal. I mean, I think it's always, I always err on the side of caution and think through permission with all of these things. And like, look, there's a million decisions you're going to have to make as a small business owner. And I'm a big fan of eliminating things so you don't have to think about it. And so that's one of those ones where I'm like, you know what, I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to focus on getting permission. And so, you know what? You don't have to worry about it. So you can move on to something else. And so that's where I would go with that as well.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. We've got some more information around the lead magnet question. So if either of you have any ideas for lead magnets for a voiceover artist who struggles to send potential clients who are audio producers and video producers. Yes.
So so this is interesting. So I mean, this is a tough one, right? Because you don't always know if these folks are going to be people that, well, I mean, I guess I would look at it like this. Think of ways that you could have some fun with this. And I mentioned this because I've recently seen a voiceover artist actually in my like Instagram feed, and she does all of these, like as if like, so like here's the businesswoman on the line, like here's the hold line voice, right? And so she puts them in these weird scenarios and does it like as that voice. So I think this is one of those ways that you can start thinking about what is something fun and entertaining that you can offer people to, you know, again, get their interest, right? Have them on the list. So then you're just keeping yourself top of mind, so that when somebody is looking for the voiceover artist, like, oh, you know what, we should give this. So you're almost like entertaining them while also demonstrating your expertise in what you do, so that they will, you know, look forward to watching the things that you do for them, letting them know, of course, that you can hire them like within that email as well. But it's just a way to kind of keep them engaged, so your business is top of mind, instead of just kind of doing the thing where it's just like, okay, like, well, what do I offer here, right? And so that's a tough one from the lead magnet perspective. I would actually lead on lead magnet. So within Constant Contact, you can actually use AI to help you create like a little quiz. And that might be something that is helpful, that could be helpful to you. So you can actually, you know, give it some insight into what you're doing and how you're thinking that. But maybe it's something like a little quiz for these types of people that would allow them to take it and figure out something. I don't know what that is because I don't know the industry well enough, right? But I think that if you start to look at some creative ways that you might think about that, then that's, you know, getting into something that will get them onto the list.
Yeah, I think that the thing that Dave just mentioned, which I believe is still only available in the UK. I haven't, because it came out and then I was so busy I haven't had a chance to completely play with it, but it lets you create a little quiz. So it can be something either entertaining or serious that you can share on social media. So if you've got a good social following, that's a way to use that as your lead magnet. I've not come across a voice artist. Yeah, I have to think about that.
Yeah, I think saying like, don't hard sell it though. Do something else, and then kind of get yourself in people's minds so they think of you.
Yeah.
The quiz thing I see Joe's asking is actually called lead magnet. And yes, a lead magnet technically is something that, you know, you offer in exchange for information. And so this is where the quiz comes in. And to, I think, Lucy's point, right? Like the entertaining content, no, is not necessarily a lead magnet unless you package it in a way that it becomes one, right? So that's why I was kind of leaning down that path, because sometimes it's not always about like the direct, like hire me kind of lead magnet type of thing. It's about what is the thing that someone would give up the email address for. So, which is why I was going down that path.
Fab, thank you. Now, you mentioned that you send your lovely weekly email to people. A few people have said in the chat earlier that they struggle to know what to write about, but maybe they'd like to send some more emails. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone has got plenty to write about, plenty, and you can start with a simple calendar. Like what is coming up now, as everyone's planning now for January. What's happening for you next year, month by month? What is it that you want to tell people about? Are you going to write any blog posts? Are you hosting any events? Have you got any sales coming up? The minute you start plugging that into a calendar, you'll see that you've got tons to write about, and almost more than you think that you can put in. Like most people want to send a monthly email, and I say no, send more often. But if you send something weekly, then you can divvy that up and you can talk about one or two things per email. But honestly, I like to plan on paper, and so I will start on paper, and I'll just draw a grid with 12 squares, and I'll write month on month, like what's happening, what do I know that's coming up, what do I know that I'm involved in, and that needs to tie back to, like, what are you trying to achieve? So you will know what your goals are for next year. How does that tie into what I'm trying to achieve? And honestly, you will not run out of things to write about. And remember that everything that you share on social media that's ad hoc is stuff that you can use in your emails. It doesn't have to just say on social. If you've done it and it's got a good response, why would you not share it with your list?
Repurpose stuff is always something, you know,
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
look at
We spend a lot of time creating content, and there's so much out there, and not everyone sees everything that you do all the time. Only you're the only person who does that. You're the only person who sees everything that you do. So there's no reason why you can't reuse things, and especially if they're seasonal. Like, so if you have a business that can do things on a seasonal basis, like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, Christmas, Valentine's Day. If you've already created stuff for that, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. You can package it up slightly differently and share it with your email list. So you will never run out of things.
I like the idea too, just to add to that, Minal, is, you know, oftentimes it's about going a little bit deeper into a subject, right? So like when you start thinking about, you know, so all right, we've been talking about lead magnets here, right? So you could literally create a series of content around lead magnets, and it's about then, okay, so what is a lead magnet? Okay, and then really expanding on what that is, right? What that is, how you use it, blah blah blah. Then it's like, okay, how do you create a lead magnet, right? Then you get really into, okay, here are all the different ways that you can create something, right? And then you get into all the different ways that all right, here's some examples of what a lead magnet can look like, right? So you can take one subject, whatever your area of expertise is, and really go deep into it in interesting ways, in ways that allow you to continually create something. Then I also think, you know, the idea of when you start thinking about who the people are on your list, and almost providing examples for people of like what it is that you're talking about and how it can apply to them, not them specifically, meaning you're not calling them out like, Minal, I'm talking to you, right? But you are in the background and in your mind, maybe I'm saying, I'm talking to Minal, and I'm going to write this in a way that for her business, she would be able to apply whatever this message or whatever this thing is that I'm trying to get across. And so those are all kind of little things that, because like, that is going to change versus talking to somebody else, right? Like how I would describe that, or maybe explain it or give an example. And so there are all of these different ways that you kind of get to get over yourself a little bit, because like, if to you it may not seem interesting, but to other people who don't know it, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Right. And so that's kind of like the challenge is overcoming yourself in a lot of this situation. I struggle with that too.
And I will tell you, every time I do a webinar for you guys or anyone, if I can save the chat, I always save the chat, because there are questions in there that people want the answers to that are going to be content for me. So I will save this chat at the end, and I'll go through the questions and I'll create content from it. Because if one person wants to know in this chat, there are going to be other people like them that know it. So ask, like, have the questions that people always ask you as well, like the questions that you get by email or on your website or on your social. What are those questions? Answer them. If one person's asked it, someone else will be thinking the same thing as well.
Somebody's in the chat has just commented there that they're writing a blog based on a question to their last blog. So they've done exactly that. So it clearly works. Next question is, I post the same newsletter content as a LinkedIn newsletter. Is this a sensible approach, or should I use a different content for the two different channels?
I know someone who does that, but they leave out some of the links to stuff on the LinkedIn newsletter and say those are only available to subscribers, to encourage people to subscribe to their emails. So I'm not a big fan of kind of replicating it, because then what's the point of subscribing if you're going to get it free on LinkedIn? So I would maybe repurpose that content a little bit and say, actually, there's more detail if you subscribe. I've got an email that has more stuff in it. I tend to not, I haven't written a LinkedIn newsletter for ages, but I tend to go back over things that I've shared to get people's eyes on them, and that will include things like blog posts and stuff like that. But then I always ask people to sign up at the end if they want, because I offer other things, so they get the webinars and other bits and pieces that you don't get if you don't sign up to my email. I would say keep something back, is my opinion.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where you have to really understand, okay, like what is your goal, right? What are you trying to do with this? Because I think there's an argument on both sides. I've seen people actually, you can actually think about it in terms of like how you share information. And so the newsletter is kind of like the first place, right? Like you're going to get information first. And then like another month from now, like you could go and share that newsletter that was originally for your subscribers. You could go and you could share that on LinkedIn, right? Because you're giving first to act kind of thing to your newsletter subscribers, right? And then, yeah, I've seen people, I love Minal's suggestion of really not giving the whole thing, but giving enough where there's independent value in that newsletter on LinkedIn, but you kind of inject that FOMO, right? They know they're missing something by not being on the list. And so that's a good way to actually like, oh, I love this. I'm going to really love what's on the newsletter as well.
Thank you. Another question is coming. We are running out of time. So if anyone's got some burning questions, ask them now or forever hold your peace, as they say. There's a question about whether you can use the data that you've got as your mailing list for change and for like a wider greater good potentially. I'm guessing with GDPR, if people have signed up to your email list for a certain thing, you have to use it for that specific thing. Would you both agree?
I would say for marketing purposes, yes. But I don't know the exact instance that they're talking about. But like what you can't do is if you are a business, like say today, I am marketing by Minal, but and I keep meaning to do this, but it just falls off my list. But say next year I launch my crochet business and I take my email list and start marketing to them. No, that's a big no. So it depends. I don't know what the exact instance is, but I could email my list and say, oh, I started a new business. I'd love it if anyone who's interested in crochet follows me here and subscribes to my newsletter here.
So kind of, yeah, so you get that permission. You can talk to them about it, but you just have to say, if you want to know more about this, be part of this, kind of take that. I hope that answers your question. There's a few people who've asked about HubSpot. They've just signed up for it and are hoping they've made a good decision. Any thoughts on HubSpot?
Can I go, Dave?
Sure.
I love HubSpot as a CRM. I only use the free version, and what it does, I don't even use it as a CRM actually. What I do is I track my prospects and my leads through it to the point where I know it helps me to understand where everyone is in my pipeline, and to make sure that I'm keeping in touch with people, because I can set reminders and stuff and do that. I feel like HubSpot is, if you're a small or solo business owner, I feel like HubSpot is like trying to crack a nut with a hammer, if that's the right analogy. There's a lot in it, and I think there's probably a lot that a small business doesn't need. There's a lot in Constant Contact that will help you to communicate with your audience and sort your audience in a way that is meaningful for your business right now. It doesn't mean to say that you might not grow exponentially and then need HubSpot at a certain date in the future. But I would say that particularly if you're a service business and you want to track your sales and look at your pipeline, it's good for that. I don't pay for it, I only use the free version. But I feel like the email marketing part is too complex for small businesses and you need a tool that's going to work for you right now that doesn't take a lot of learning. And for me, that's
I think you cut out for you there, but at the end you said, for you, Minal, that is constant contact.
constant contact, yes.
Fabulous. We have run out of time today, but if either of you have any final thoughts before we go, please do share. Put you on the spot now.
Oh gosh, build your list. It's as simple as that. Build your list. Don't wait. Start today. Build your list. Make email marketing an overall part of your marketing strategy. Yeah, that's my tip.
Dave, anything from you?
Yeah, I'll just echo that. I mean, you really do want to own that list, right? The technology is changing all of the time. Social channels, algorithms are changing all of the time. And guess what? It's actually not doing those things in your best interests, right? It's doing it on their advertising platform, right? So they can keep people on their platforms. And so again, not bad tools to use. They should be part of your strategy, but make sure that you're owning that direct connection with your customer or potential customer, because at the end of the day, if something changes and you have a way to contact them, that's always going to be more valuable to you. So yeah, build the list.
Thank you so much. Thank you both for joining. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. If you've missed anything, don't worry, we will send you an email and you can catch up tomorrow. Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.